What's up, guys? Welcome back. I'm Chris. If you are subscribed to the channel, you know that the primary thing we go over is Mustang stuff, turbo stuff. So I'm fixing a couple things on my car. So if you watched the last few videos, you knew I had a hot side leak, and then I was fixing a cold side leak. So I've pretty much got that all wrapped up, but I thought of something while I had it apart, and I figured I'd go ahead and take care of. This turbo kit is like 6 or 7 years old. It started out as an on-3 kit, and now I don't have the on-3 hot side anymore. This car's got a pony down stage 2 kit. So pretty much all that's left is the cold side, intercooler, and the blow-off valve. So I just figured it was probably time, because a lot of the things people don't realize when they do a turbo setup is there's a good bit of maintenance you have to kind of watch, you know what I mean? So in the blow-off valve on this car, basically I haven't touched it. It seemed to work pretty good, and really my own fault. I never really checked to see when it was opening. That's one of the things that people don't realize. Let me we'll look at this here. Hold on. So what you see here is the old on-3 blow-off valve that I had. Like I said, I bought this kit used, so this is at least 7 years old. And then this is the new blow-off valve I got. I just went ahead and bought one because I figured the diaphragm and stuff in this was probably hosed. And then you can rebuild them, but I was looking up parts, and for the money I figured I may as well just go ahead and get a new valve. So what these are, it's just a knockoff of a tile, Q series 50 millimeter. So if you have one, or if you're watching this video because you're wanting to replace it, the 50 millimeter tile valve is basically what they copied to make this. So that's what I got to replace it with. When you buy one of these, there's different springs, okay? And people will think that it's like a wastegate, and that you want to get however many pound spring in this that you're running in your gate. Well, that's not the way a blow-off valve works. So what you want to do, and it'll be different for every engine, the first thing you need to know is what your engine is idling at as far as vacuum. And mine, it idles right around 10 inches of vacuum when it's hot and in gear. So you want a spring inside of here that will crack that valve open at idle, okay? So when you get into boost, this valve will close, and then because the vacuum goes away and you get boost pressure, which will be pushing in on that. All right, so you want a spring at idle that will let it open up. So when you get out of boost, all that boost pressure, when the throttle blade and the throttle body closes, doesn't build up so high that it'll either, if you're lucky, it'll blow a silicone coupler off, and if you're unlucky, it will blow up your intercooler, or if you got a sheet metal intake, if you're pushing a lot of boost, it can pop welds and stuff. So that's why you need to make sure one of these, you've got one that's working correctly, and it's sized right for your car. So they make all different sizes of these springs or weights. You can tell just by looking at them. This one, I believe, is like an 18 pound, and this one is a 6 pound. So what I got in here, this spring, when I bought this valve, okay, it came with 2 springs, and it told me that the spring that was supposed to be in there was this heavier spring. Well, it was wrong. It had the lighter spring. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to go over this, is always check this stuff. Don't just go with what it tells you, actually verify it. So what I did is I took this valve apart, okay, it's just an Allen, and it was the light spring, so I just held it with my hand, pushed down on it against the table or whatever, and took the springs out, and then that spring loaded, it'll pop up. So if you had the heavier one in there, you want to use a C-clamp to clamp it against the table, push down on it, you know, with this valve out obviously, but definitely you want to take these apart and check them before you put it on your car. Know what vacuum your car's idling at. And then the other thing, while you have it apart, and the good reason that I took this apart, and you know, I was changing it out anyway, like I said, I figured it was time to switch some stuff around, but this has already got the spring out of it. So what I found when I took this apart, let me set you down here for a minute. Okay. So this is the diaphragm, it goes inside of that, and this just has a ridge, and it sits down in that groove, and that's what holds it to there, okay? And then when you take it apart, you'll just see it, it'll be like that. So that spring rides in this groove. And it's a good thing I took this apart, took it off the car, because as you can see, this thing had gotten water in it, and it was full of rust, and it was sticking. I checked it with a vacuum, this vacuum pump, just a cheapy vacuum pump. I tried to pull a vacuum on this, and it was leaking. And I could tell kind of by looking at it, I imagine. It was leaking right around these. There's two O-rings, or copper washers that seal that. So I think it was leaking around there, and it could have been leaking here. I took that diaphragm out and checked it. It didn't look like any holes in it, but you can tell, I mean, there's rust inside there, and then all down in here, and there's rust on the spring that went down inside that. That spring was all rusted, so. But yeah, so that's what, you know, that's basically what it all entails. You're popping that apart, so. But what I wanted to go over, the other good reason to take these apart when you get one, is there really wasn't any lubricant on this, and it's a good idea. That's the ring right here that seals it against, there's a groove down inside that. It just sits right on this edge, and that's the O-ring that seals it here. And then it has another O-ring where it goes down in the flange on actually your cold side pipe that seals around that lip. But you want to just kind of check that stuff over, and what I do is take a little bit of like red chassis grease and just lubricate this up a little bit right here in that O-ring. And the same way with this shaft, okay? Because it's sliding in this bore, so you want to make sure that that's got a little bit of grease on it. Because if not, like I checked this one with the vacuum pump, and it even wasn't working, brand new, and to me, it wasn't working quite perfectly, as good as it should. And to me, it didn't have any grease in it. So I went ahead and lubricated that all up and got it working well. And then just checked the pressure that this valve opens. I checked that with my vacuum pump to see how many inches of vacuum it took. And this was the new spring, the light spring, that's supposed to be 6 pound. And I'm assuming that the spring in here was 6 pounds. Actually, it was in the old one. So what I wanted to do, I got that spring that was in here, had a little rust on it, so I cleaned it all up really good, and I ran it with this spring, the new valve, and I pumped it up, made sure everything held vacuum. It does, but this valve was opening with this spring. It was opening at about 5 inch-pounds of vacuum, about 4.5. With the spring that was in this old valve, I put it in there, and it appeared to be, you know, roughly the same spring. It should have been. This opens at about 8 inches of vacuum, which is pretty much right on what I want. I want it to open right pretty close to idle. So that way when the vacuum goes away and it starts building boost pressure, that's, you know, like 3 inches, that much faster that this will shut and the car will build boost. So just a little tip I thought I'd share with you guys that know the springs in a blow-off valve do not work like a wastegate. So you got to do a little research and check your engine out to see what you've actually got to and Tile and everybody else, they have a chart that will tell you how many pounds the spring is and at what vacuum range you want. So like the 6 pound spring, like what I've got in here, I think they rate that anywhere from like 8 inches of vacuum up to 11, which is, so that's right in the area. But like I was touching on though, I got 2 different manufacturer springs and they're the same rating, and this one's just a little bit stiffer, which is what I wanted. So always check your stuff. Never assume, you know, that everything's right, that everything's been put together right. You know, if this would have not been opening correct, the car wouldn't have been performing right on boost, and I'd have wondered why. And like, that's the problem a lot of people run into, is they don't educate themselves on actually what this part's doing and just double check it. You know, something pretty simple that can cause you issues down the road. There you have it, just a little short video I wanted to make. You know, a lot of guys probably knew this, but I know back when I first started with a turbo kit, I didn't know that. You know, I would have just thrown that on and not thought of anything of it. And luckily, it was already set up, you know, to match, pretty much match the engine I had. You know, my car made, on this old kit when I first threw it together, it was it basically made 600 wheel. So luckily the guy I got it from, he knew quite a bit. And I still ask him today questions when I'm trying to figure stuff out. So always learn. That's, you know, something you'll learn with a turbo kit. It's not as easy as what some people make it out to be. So do your research. I hope this helps somebody. If you've got one, if you got a turbo kit and you're having some issues with build and boost, it gives you something to check if you haven't looked into it. But if you like the video, give it a like. If you're not subscribed, I appreciate you subscribing. I think I'm up over 90 right now subscribers. I want to thank everybody that watches the videos. I'm just doing it for fun, you know. Hopefully here pretty soon I'm going to have the car out a lot more, and we're going to go to the track and stuff. It's pretty close. Just I'm making sure we got everything the way I want it, and I'm not going to run into an issue, because at least in the beginning I'm going to be driving it to and from the track. So thanks for watching again. We'll see you later. Bye.